Whether it was the low speed usage, smooth. Whether it was the highway, punchy. Whether you want to just chill, calm with it, no problem.
Nice.
Because again, here, one of the things, and the interesting thing was that it's not running on EV specific tires, but the sound characteristics was so good. Like it was a calm and relaxed cabin.
As quiet as ICEV or even quieter than
I
ICEV?
think it's better. Any thought that this is mild mannered in the way it drives is off. It is not. It is plenty good to drive. Whether you want to drive smoothly, you want to drive easily, you want to drive quickly, it can do all of that. It has those 3 drive modes: eco, normal, and sport. In each of the modes, it's easy to drive.
Okay.
If you choose to be rowdy, rowdy feeling if you get, and you accelerate hard, it's quick. And you will feel enough of the torque coming on that you get that little bit of torque steer and stuff like that.
Should that not have been tuned out?
So I guess just go to a calmer drive mode. And I'm thinking in a fully loaded vehicle scenario, it will also be more settled.
Sure.
So those parameters, right now we'll have to see when we drive it further. But as of now, that will require you to drive in a manner that is rowdy, right? It requires you to be that impatient kind of driving. That's when you feel it. It's not the default.
Impatient driving nobody does anymore, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? There are no impatient drivers
Everybody
left,
is well behaved and mature. So so the performance of the car does not feel dull. The performance of it does not feel lacking. The efficiency side of it was the other thing. And to me, concerns that this thing's range would be lower than, let's say, the Creta do not stand as of now. Because I consistently saw it managing 7 kilometers per kilowatt hour, even higher than that. So that means the 350 range is easy. You can go up to 400 as well. I drove near about 200 kilometers with the car, and you'll see the readout. The overall was 7 kilometers per kilowatt hour, something like that. And this is a mix of usage again.
Right.
We did those B roads.
Correct.
Around Nandi Hills.
Yeah, and they're not flat, so they're not kind to electrics, these roads.
And we drove highways, which is also there. Spent, I think, about 70, 80 kilometers just cruising on the highway at 100. And again, competent. I think performance side of it is something that you really don't
Okay,
think
so this
about.
is an interesting thing. Let's go to motoring circles and discuss this. We are seeing electric vehicles being created as cooler vehicles than ICEs as a way to sell them. But Kia Carens Clavis EV is taking a slightly different approach, where they're saying it's okay, it's normal. And so far, everything he's told me seems to suggest that this is just completely regular car that happens to have an electric powertrain. Tell me in motoring circles, I'll put a post on my profile or Kartikeya's profile, we'll see, where the idea is that coolness required to convince you to get an electric? Or is the fact that it feels as good as a normal ICEV a powerful asset to this car? I'd like to know your perspective on this.
It's a good question.
This will be on circles. Let's invent a hashtag for it. Let's call it normal is not boring. Oh, we have to have an EV in it. Okay, normal is not boring EV. Now we have the same length as the Kia Carens Clavis EV.
So yeah, coming back to the performance, whether it was the low speed usage, smooth. Whether it was the highway, punchy. Whether you want to just chill, calm with it, no problem.
Nice.
Because again, here, one of the things, and the interesting thing was that it's not running on EV specific tires, but the sound characteristics was so good. Like it was a calm and relaxed cabin.
As quiet as ICEV or even quieter than ICEV?
I think it's better.
Okay.
I think it's better. And that's why I'm bringing up the tires, because generally that is the thing that ends up intruding into the cabin, right? And I looked at them, they're the same MRF, eco treads, whatever.
So which means what they said about the chassis having accounted already for the EV function and the ICEV function is already done, and therefore all of this equipment is roughly the same.
You remember when we drove the Clavis ICE also, we had said that they benchmarked internally and said that the best car in the family up till now has been the Sonnet,
Right.
and which we've always found to be impressive on this count. They said this is better than that. This experience now says that probably is.
So how did they account for the weight differential between the battery pack, which will be what, 400, 600 kilos?
So they, now this is becoming a thing with more and more manufacturers. They don't want to give out weights. And this is happening with many different brands. So I do not know the exact weights.
But there will be let's assume a difference of 500 kilos.
Let's say, 400, 500 kilos.
No, because if you're assuming, I can also say 9,000 kilos, but I'm not willing to be unreasonable about it. So 500 kilos.
Yeah. So the weight aspect of it. So the only change in the body is to the floor pan, where it's now that flat floor, so that the
Right.
battery is sitting closer to it. The other thing that is changed to accommodate this and make this a richer experience is the suspension setup. So this suspension setup, I asked them, is there a baseline that they used from the ICE versions? They said no. And mechanically, one of the differences is that it has special bushes for the front suspension. Now with the EV, they've also applied it to the rear.
Got it.
And the reason why, for me, this is the default for the Clavis family is this suspension setup. Because if you remember when we drove the Clavis, the ICE, we found two very different characters between the petrol and the diesel. The diesel was the comfort-oriented one, and the petrol felt like the one which was more driver-focused, and that's a strange thing to say for an MPV, but that is what it was. And the EV comes and sits in between those two.
Right.
It has some of that control that the petrol has, and it has the plushness of the diesel. So it ends up sitting in between.
Very nice.
Which means, does it feel as porous as or as granular as the petrol did? No, it doesn't. But does it feel harsh like the petrol did over the broken roads and those same roads?
Also no.
No. It actually takes the bad stuff just very, very well. You don't get the crashing feeling. You don't feel anything coming into the cabin. And the sound characteristics, because of that, is also smoother, calmer. So it just felt like such a sophisticated and mature car to be in. And
Very cool.
even in the third row. Even in the third row. Because generally what we find is that the further back you go,
The worse it gets.
the worse it gets in terms of the ride characteristic, also in terms of the sound characteristic.
Yeah.
And the third row was fine. There was no problem there. A lot of people, if you told me that I can get this suspension setup with the turbo petrol of the Clavis.
And by that he means the feeling that you got from the car, not the actual physical units.
Correct. And you'd be like, yeah, forget it, go for that. But today, if somebody's going to ask me, I'm going to say, can you get the EV? Because that's a really sweet balance. If it doesn't work for your lifestyle, because let's say you're traveling a lot outside and charging will be a question mark, and you are unwilling to make those adjustments, then sure, then pick the diesel or pick the petrol, depending on which thing works for you better. So this feels like a sophisticated family MPV.
Right.
Hello. If you enjoyed this clip, which means you're into good conversations, and that's what we're all about. It's really hard packing in the essence of an idea into a 60-second clip. This 3-minute, 5-minute video would have given you a sense of that, and you can enjoy this entire conversation in its full glory on the MotorInc channel. So why don't you head out over there and subscribe to that, and you could subscribe to this channel as well if you enjoyed it.